So this is my off-the-track Thoroughbred Hookedonsweetness. She's about 12, and up until recently, she really hasn't had a real proper restart. And so we're working on the Tarp today. She's engaging with it a little bit, so that's good. And up until this point, she has a pretty solid head down cue, which is really important in this case because if she didn't know that, she probably wouldn't want to engage with the object. So now I'm asking her to go and she doesn't want to, so she skirts around, and then you'll notice I block her with my body. And so with this horse, it's not really a good idea to force her to stand there with the object because she just feels like she gets pigeonholed into a box. Now she's thinking about it, putting her foot on it, pawing it, striking it, and then she decides she's done, and I let her do it because, again, that pigeonholed into the box thing. Blocking and letting her kind of see that she can do it, and now she just walks over it really easily. I ask her to come back to me, give her a little scratch, a little lick and chew. That let me know she's thinking about it. And when we walked on the bridge the last time, she was really hesitant to put a foot on the bridge. It took forever. But just letting her do it at her own pace seemed to do the trick. A lot of times with thoroughbreds, when you try to make them do something or work them out of something, like more energy will solve the problem, it doesn't really seem to work with these guys. And then again, she's putting her head down herself because we've worked on this head down cue, and when she gets nervous, she'll put her head down herself, not even being asked to cue, because she remembers that helps her. She just associates it after a while with the relaxation itself. So it's important to go over the tarp in as many directions as possible, facing different ways and different approaches. And this time she's following me over, and if you noticed, I didn't do that to begin with. I sent her over so she could figure it out and get her own confidence. Then the next step would be the follow, and then now finally we're standing here together. So there's no way she would stand unless she was moderately relaxed. And I asked her to relax a little bit more, and then she did it even more again. So now that we can go over the tarp, now we're going to practice moving the tarp, making some more sounds. And this horse really responds to pets and reassurance. Some horses, I don't think it really matters as much, but this one really draws from that. I like how she's keeping her head down even when I'm moving the tarp. And I don't necessarily think it's so much that she cares or doesn't care about the tarp, but her and I have worked together enough that she kind of knows that we're okay here. She was a little hesitant about going over it first, but as you saw, it didn't really take too much time. Now that she's kind of confirmed this, now we're going to go to the harder stuff. So I'm a big fan of putting things over their head to begin with, which seems kind of counterproductive, but honestly, it's the hardest thing. And so if they can get the head, they can get over that, then it seems that they're a lot better. I went on an apprenticeship with Ken McNabb years ago, and that's something that he told me, and at first I thought he was a little nuts, but actually I've really come to find that to be true. So it might take me a little longer to get it over her head rather than just touching her shoulder, but I think it's a more complete thing. It also gives them an opportunity to see it with both eyes at the same time, since you're putting it over their head, so you're almost desensitizing both sides at the same time. And I never put it over her head, so if she really picks her head up, I'm not going to force it. You know, I'm picking it up, I'm putting it back down. And when she shows me a little bit that she's uncomfortable, we don't really continue. So then she puts her head down a little bit, and that's when I actually put it completely over her head because she signaled to me that she's okay with it. You do this enough with horses, they get to the point where they kind of like put their head down and like go right into all the scary things. It's kind of interesting. Moving it around, she doesn't seem to mind as much. See if we'll go over it. Nope. So we don't want to go over the blob. It's not like a tarp anymore, it's a blob. So we might have to start over. That's okay. She's getting a little in my space. Say nope. And send her back over it again, and she can take the time to sniff. And that's okay. My goal really isn't necessarily to desensitize them to everything. I just want them to think about how to deal with the problem, because I never can desensitize them to every single thing that happens, but I can teach them how to think. Giving her the space and the time to do that teaches her how to think. And some more lovely pets. Now we're on to the body rubbing part. And she's really a lot more okay with it now that we've taken it over her head. There's not much else to do at this point, but I can't think of any other way to desensitize them better than to have them wear the thing, see it blow in the breeze, and we're kind of killing a few birds with one stone there, because that probably will transfer over into flags. If she were ever to carry a flag, just stuff being around her, more like ropes and dragging things. Not that it's a direct comparison, but I think it helps set her up for success. We'll go under her belly and everything, and just everywhere. I mean, so if you're thinking, oh gee, I can't put the tarp there, it's like, well, why not? Now she's showing lots of signs of being nervous about it. You might not want to go all in, but especially if she's standing here like this, just kind of looking at you, ears half masked, there's not really too much going on for stress for her, so why not do everything that you can? And you can make bigger movements with the tarp if they're getting good. You can move it faster, and then whenever you meet some resistance, you just back off a little bit. So we're making sure that we get both sides, different parts of her body, kind of letting it go behind her. You know, and she's keeping her head pretty level. She's not really looking nervous or anything like that. And we're going to go back to the head, looking at it, and that's really good. Letting it fall. And I think they were bringing in some horses at this moment. So she was kind of looking out and hearing them move, so I got her attention, brought it back down there. But not too bad. I mean, all things considered, she's doing pretty good. Yep, she kind of puts her head down for it there. Just doesn't really care. This is a huge deal for this horse because she was definitely not worked with anything like this when I went to get her. She was very, very reactive. So I wish I would have filmed those reactive sessions, but now she's almost like a slightly normal horse, I guess. And I'm moving the tarp around a little bit more fractiously. Sometimes we get to the point where we're moving it too nicely, and then when something does actually move and blow, then the horse is getting scared from it. So now we've progressed into this wearing the tarp business. Taking it back over her head the other way, and you'd think that just because you put the tarp on over their head, that doesn't necessarily mean you can pull the tarp back the other way. So you want to make sure you do all that, and I'm just very, very thorough with every little thing that I can think of. So I want to make sure that this horse is really, really okay with this. And then maybe down the line, I could put a tarp on her and ride her with it and have it flowing around behind her, and she wouldn't even care. But I want to make sure I go through all of these steps and not skip anything. And I've edited this a little bit for time's sake, but this is a pretty accurate representation of how long this took. And what her reactions were. So I'm kind of sending her around me, letting her walk, and I take the tarp on and off, just so it's no big deal. And I'm not going to do it today, but I probably at some point will have her trot around with this tarp and let it fall off of her that way and make sure she doesn't care about that. But that's a little too high energy for her at the moment. She just needs she's been working really hard to keep her energy level low if something stressful happens, so trotting right now probably wouldn't be the best choice. And that falls, and she turns right into me. I don't even ask her to do that, and the tarp is still behind her at the moment, so I'm really liking that she's choosing to see me as the leader. And so now this all carries over into the ridden work. I just hopped on her bareback and put a snaffle on, and she's very confident, just going over the tarp like it's no big deal. So hopefully this helps show you kind of how I introduced a horse that's never seen a tarp before